Welcome everyone to the Velasquez Show. My name is Jeffrey Velasquez. Today I have a special guest, Alex Perez. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making the trip to the studio. I appreciate the support. I really appreciate what you do. You have helped me so many times in times of need. And today we're going to discuss a special subject that you breathe it, you sleep it, you live by it.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for inviting me to your show. My name is Alex Perez.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a realtor since 1989. It's been 35 years already. And I serve the Houston and surrounding areas. Um, I started basically with the idea of trying to help people, and in this industry, I've had the privilege of helping all backgrounds, of people, and it gives me great pleasure when I see the expression in their faces, when they realize that they have become a homeowner,
Okay.
and so that's what drives me, wanting to help people.
My question is, what made you become a realtor? What triggered the idea of becoming one? And this is a question that's gonna apply to people that have done it. This is gonna apply to people that want to be one. And what are the challenges? I mean, let's be honest. Being a realtor is not easy, especially when you start, right? So, what made you take the risk to become a realtor?
Well, I guess I like to dream, and I remember that there was this friend in high school that he said, "Why don't you become a realtor
Uh huh.
like my dad?" And I told him, "Well, I don't have money to invest," and he said, "Oh no, you don't have to invest money. You help people get homes so they become owners. You can talk to my dad; he can explain all about it." And I spoke with his dad and I became a realtor. Originally, I thought, okay, you know, it's gonna be easy. I'm gonna sell so many homes a month, and I only need this amount of money. And wow, all the surplus income that I'm gonna have, I can keep going to college and become an architect as well.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so I had all these plans, right? And then I realized that selling in real estate is tougher than what I originally thought. And it turns out that I had to realize that it's a business and I had to treat it as one because I wasn't investing into it enough. I had to fully engage in real estate and, like you said, breathe it, sleep.
How long did it take? How long did it take you to actually realize that?
It took me at least a couple of years, if not three, because I got into real estate when I was straight out of high school. And it turns out that when I got into real estate, I wanted to, as a young person, be my own self. I did not want to wear a tie. I wanted to dress basically like a teenager.
Yeah.
And I realized, okay, when in Rome, do like the Romans do. So I changed my appearance to start wearing ties, being more professional. I purchased a briefcase. I started to just assimilate the look of a businessman. And
Did it help?
it helped. It helped. I remember that one of the first transactions that I wanted to put together, I answered this person's objections,
Okay.
all of them.
Yeah.
And I told him, there's no more objections. The next thing that there's only one thing left to do, which is write the offer. And he would not do it. And finally, he answered. I said, tell me, why don't you want to write the offer? I've answered all your questions. And he says, you're too young.
Oh.
And that hit me, you know. That's when I realized, okay, I need to make a change here as to how I dress, how I carry myself. And it helped, but it took effort, you know. I mean, it took time, it took effort, because I look younger than my age, so people would, not trust that I knew what I
Your
knew.
craft, yeah.
And it turns out that in the office that I was working at the time, there were people that were older than me. They had mustache, and
More experience, probably.
no, here's the thing. They would be asking me questions about
Okay.
real estate because I knew English.
Okay.
They didn't.
You knew Spanish.
I knew Spanish. I could communicate with them as well. And so I quickly learned a lot about what it was about. And they were asking me questions about the law, about different aspects of real estate, even though I was not there as long as they had been. It's just that I was learning faster.
Okay, so this was what in the early 90s.
Yeah, I started in '89, so
Yeah.
early '90s.
So in the early 90s, and I wish I could like stick to your experience, but I have so many questions.
Okay.
I want you to give us an idea of how can you compare the housing market then like it is now. Like I guess my question is, what do you see different now that you didn't see back in the early 90s? Like, well, because I feel like now it's more challenging, like for economically, like for somebody that maybe like I guess the younger generations will probably have a harder time now compared to back then. Or has it always been like this in the housing market, so competitive, prices being inflated? I mean, can you tell us about?
I think that it has to do a lot of, the attitude of the person.
Okay.
If you want to do something, you'll get it done. I mean, if you're saying to yourself, I want to be a homeowner, and I'll take the steps to be a homeowner, then sooner or later you can find a way.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people are afraid to take that step. I mean, if you're going to get your first home, you might be fearful that you're not going to be able to make the payments. I tell you, because me personally, I was fearful for that first home. When purchasing it, I was thinking, I've never been responsible for a house payment before. This is going to be new for me. And I was nervous. And I've seen the same on other people when they're first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
And if you let that fear control you, then you never take that step.
Did you become a homeowner before you became a realtor, or after you became a realtor?
After, yes, I became a realtor. And because I remember I went straight from high school into real estate school.
Oh, wow, right. Okay.
And then, but soon after, I became a homeowner. But it turns out that when it came time for me to actually take care of the payment, live in it, and I was still going to taking classes in college. So I was newlywed. My wife was in college. So I was thinking, am I going to be able to make...
How old were you during that time?
Well, for that time, I was about 25.
25? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna specify my question. Like the requirements to buy a house now compared to then, were they the same? Because maybe the mentality, the attitude, sure, but the requirements to buy a home back in the early 90s compared to now,
No,
there's gotta be some differences. There's no way you can tell me it's not. It's about the mindset. It's about realistic expectations of the requirements.
well, no, as far as the requirements, they've been pretty much about the same as far as, what do they require? They want to see income taxes.
Income taxes, okay.
They want to make sure that you don't have a lot of debt. They're going to compare the income against the debt ratio.
So nothing has changed from the early 90s to now?
As far as the qualifications, the guidelines are pretty much there. What has changed is that from time to time there are new programs that come in, and they make it more flexible, or they give more opportunities to certain groups, or there's this program that has like $10,000 towards closing costs, that a certain group might qualify for, or there was one time that the qualifications, it didn't matter where you went. I mean, as far as trying to qualify, if somebody didn't have a program, somebody else might have it. There was a saying that realtors would say, if you're breathing, you can qualify for a loan, and you can get a home. Why? Because it was so flexible. But that was before the market crashed.
And that was back in what year was that?
That was already in the 2000s.
2000 what? 2008?
It was before that.
Before that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the market started changing gradually. Okay. And the industry started being so flexible that there were no checks and balances.
Do you think that's what crashed the market, or was it something else?
It was a combination of things. It's like at the time, what was different was that if there was an appraisal to be done, the loan officer would pick up the phone and say, hey, I need an appraisal done. So there was a connection between the appraiser and the loan officer. So the appraiser felt pressure to appraise the home at the value that, even if the sales price didn't merit it, maybe it was higher than market price. If the appraiser did not appraise it, he kind of felt peer pressure that maybe he wasn't going to get the next job,
Oh my goodness.
And so a bubble started forming as far as prices going up. So now that's different, so there's a difference there. They're no longer, the lender is no longer able to contact the appraiser directly. They have to contact a company, and the company is the one that sends the appraiser, and the appraiser sends the report to the company, and the company to the lender.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna ask another question.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many questions, and I'm not trying to be all over the place, but everything, I promise you that everything
It's gonna make sense.
It's gonna make sense to people that are wondering why.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so back then you feel like they had some programs that were more flexible than others. In this case, you feel like give me a second here. In this case, because of that crash, they got more. Did they get more strict after this crash? Okay.
Yes. Once the crash came, it felt like if everything was on the table, they wiped it off,
Mm-hmm.
and they started from scratch. And then the basic guidelines came back into place, which felt really hard to qualify.
Okay, so this is why I asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
Because you made it sound like everything was the same, but now you're making more sense now that before, when something happened, something changed.
So here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
When you ask the question,
Mm-hmm.
there are basic things that you need to qualify, and they have been the same back then. They're the same right now.
Mm-hmm.
What has changed is what has happened in between, that they make it easier, or they go back to the bare basics.
Yeah.
When you go back to the bare basics, there's still people that will qualify if they have everything together.
But do the bare basics still exist now today?
Yes, you have to go by the bare basics. But like I said, sometimes new programs start coming out, and maybe that gives an opportunity for somebody who would not qualify to get into a home.
If I bought a house in cash back in the 90s compared to the 2000s and compared to now? What was it less strict back then when you bought a house in cash due to paper trail and stuff? Or what has it always been the same? There's always had to be a paper trail when you bought a house. Okay.
Yes. Title companies, they don't like to see you take a whole bunch of cash to their
Because
office.
they make their money on interest. We know that's the business model, right? I assume.
Well, no. The thing is this: it doesn't matter. You can purchase the house cash, but you talked about paper trail. So what that means is that the cash has to come from, let's say, a bank account, or do you have a 401k, or it has to be traceable from a legitimate source in order for you to be able to use that cash to purchase the home.
Okay.
What I'm saying, you cannot show up at the title company with cash in hand and say, 100, 200.
Yeah, but I mean, cash means it can be in your bank too. All right. But the question is, where does the money come from? I guess that's where.
That's always been
it's
in
always
place.
been like that. Okay. I just have those questions because in the 90s I was like 2-3 years old. You know what I'm saying? So compared to now that I work with you, I learned so much about the market. And
well, let's say that. Okay, so I understand the question correctly. The cash, if it's in the bank, you can use it to purchase a home. That's all they're verifying. They're verifying that the cash is in the bank account.
Yeah.
How did it get there? They're not investigating, where it came from. It just needs to be in the bank.
And that's still like that today? Wait, is that still like that today?
If you're purchasing cash, it has to go from a legitimate source, a bank account, for example, to the title company.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So they don't. So you're telling me if I have $200,000 right now and I bought of course I can't get a house at that price right now. But let's just say that.
Let's say you have 500,000.
Let's say if I have 500,000, I wanted to buy a house for 300,000, and if I had it in the bank, do they care how long it's been there? Do they care where they came from? They don't care.
No.
Okay, I don't know why I always was under the impression that they always wanted a paper trail, even if it was like cash.
No. Only if it's a loan.
A loan. Okay.
If it's a loan, and then they take a look at the most recent activity, and if you have a big deposit, then they want to find out, hey, how did this deposit get here? You only make this amount of money, yet you deposited, even if it's $50 more than what you're supposed to make every month. Where did it come from? You have to show paper trail.
Yeah. Okay, so the paper trail is more enforced when you're getting a loan then.
Correct.
Cash. Okay.
I mean, the requirement is for the title company that they don't want to have to accept cash. So if you have a CD account, somewhere where it can be traceable to that account, then the title company is okay in accepting it. It could be a wire, it could be cashier's check.
How many programs do they have right now where makes people, I guess, that it makes it easier for people to qualify for a home loan?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How many programs are there right now in the market that people can use to get a home?
As far as the programs are concerned, it's hard to say because there's some programs that may come into the market as we talk, and there's some programs that may run out of money. So it's really hard to keep up or keep track. And here's the other thing is that a lot of times people advertise a program. For example, one time they said, here's a program for single mothers.
Okay, but is that a real program?
It was not.
It was not.
Usually what I tell people is like, get me the phone number, and let me find out. And being a realtor, I called the source and I said, okay, listen, I'm a realtor, so I don't have time to waste. Can you please tell me how this program works? And he says, it's just a regular program. It's just a hook because otherwise single mothers would not call, but it's just a regular FHA or
a marketing strategy to like, okay.
Yes. Sometimes you get that. So a lot of people, they tell me, hey, this program came out. If you get me the phone number or a contact information, let me find out for you, and that way I can tell you if it's something that I can work with. If there's a program out there and they're offering it, as a realtor, I can go ahead and work it into the purchase of the home, as long as everything makes sense. I just need to make sure that it does work. Here's the other thing. Sometimes there are programs that they tell you, okay, we're going to give you $4,500, but they don't explain to you, or even if they do and you don't get it, it may be that for that $4,500, they may be charging $500 for the fee, administration fee, and they may say, instead of you getting the regular rate, now you're going to get a 1.5% higher, so they give you a higher rate for the life of the loan. So you end up paying a lot more than what you're getting up front.
Yeah.
And so basically it's a loan. It's not really like a gift type of help.
Okay, so I'm gonna get in depth in that, because so for people that are trying to buy he just have so many questions, and everything is just so connected, right? But I guess I'm gonna start with the most simple question for first time home buyers, and I want you to start mentioning like real programs, not marketing strategies. Okay, because people are they want to learn, right? Mm-hmm. So what are some of the programs that people can apply for when they're first time home buyers?
Programs that people can apply for?
Yeah.
I mean, like there's program that the city of Houston has.
Oh wow! So you're telling me that depending on where you're at, they're gonna offer? Oh
correct.
Wow.
But see, the thing about the programs is that somebody may not want to purchase in the city of Houston. They may want to purchase outside. Okay. And that's sometimes people say, hey, explain to me about the programs, but the program that I may talk about may not apply to them. So usually the best part, or the best way to do it, would be to, let's say they contact me, and then if they express an interest in first-time home buyer programs, then okay, let's connect you with a lender that knows a lot about different programs to see if you qualify.
But you're making it sound like depending on where you're at.
Sometimes it has to do depending on where you're at. Uh-huh. Sometimes they have income guidelines. So if somebody makes too much money, they no longer qualify. Okay. It's a puzzle for each program. Each program is a puzzle.
Okay.
And it may be that some pieces may fit, but if not all of them fit, you don't qualify. Okay. Or it may be that, you know what, you do qualify for this one, but then we're going to have to raise your interest rate. And then, if you have the money, in my opinion, it may not be the best way to go. I mean, if there's no other route, if there's no other choice, and you have to get a higher rate and pay more in the long run, that might be the only option you have. But usually, I like to see what the benefit is. Explain to them, or have the lender explain to them what they can gain. At least they understand the program. Because, for example, the city of Houston, I used to use that program a lot when it first came out. It started with $1,500. Then it went up to $5,000, $10,000. At one point, it got to $30,000, even $50,000. But at one point, they made it so difficult to qualify that, it was they expected the income to be low, but the houses were going up in price. So it was hard to match it. The other thing is that the condition of the home has to be up there. And if they were involved and said, hey, these repairs need to be made, all those repairs to be made, if the owner wasn't willing to make them, then the deal could fall through. So it's not a matter of just saying, oh, this program is out there, let's use it. We have to look at different points of view to make it make sense. If there's a builder out there and they're working with the city of Houston, that would be ideal. Why? Because the home is new. Is of course it's going to pass the inspection, and as long as the family fits within the guidelines, it's perfect, But we have to make sure that all that fits in. And when the individual calls, we don't know whether they fit or not. So it's easier to process them with a lender that is very knowledgeable of the guidelines from different programs. And then they can say, you know what? Based on everything I've seen, this is what you qualify for. This program and this program. And then they can give them the choices and say, which way do you want to go? And like I said, maybe they qualify for the city of Houston, and then they say, but I want to live in Katy. Okay. Then it doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And it's amazing to know that so many little details that I wasn't even aware of this. And I've been working with you for a few years already. Mm-hmm. Okay. And wow. Okay, so I want to talk about, I want to stick to the buyers. So a first time buyer, what are some things they need to have in line? Like let's just be honest. Like, what are some things they need to be prepared for? What do they need to have to even have a possibility to qualify for a loan?
Like, what's the first thing they would need to do?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that have this dream. Just like you had your dream of getting your house one day. I had a dream to get my house one day. And we had challenges, Alex. Every house we got, there were challenges. And it was different years, right? My first time buying a home, there was a challenge. I had to compete. Okay, you were like, yeah, there's 15 people going for this house, and they by accident called us, So the luck of the draw right there, that they accidentally called us, and we were the ones to get the house. But it's not always the case, right? So for people that are trying to get a house for the first time, what do you tell those people to have in line, ready to go, so when they call a realtor like yourself, you can help them the best way possible?
Well, Jeffrey, the first thing they need to do is to call Alex Perez, el señor de las casas.
And I'm going to put your link on the description below. I promise you.
And here's the thing, Jeffrey. If they speak with a lender, the lender will say, come to us first, get approved, and then go to the realtor, and look for a home. I like to say, come to me first, call me first. Why? Because I can be integrated into the group. We can work as a team.
Yes.
And we can go hand in hand with the lender. Why? Because even though there are great lenders out there, they are human beings, and it doesn't necessarily happen each and every time, but it has happened that had I not been there in certain instances, the deal would have fallen through. Why? Because when the buyer has a conversation with the lender, they think, this is the information I'm going to give the lender. And they might think, I don't need to give this other information. And sometimes when I'm talking to the same family, they might share that information, that extra piece of information that sometimes has made a difference in the process. But you asked, what do they need?
So yeah, because the question is more like, okay, before they even call Alex Perez, I know this is a biased question, because of course you want them to call you right away. But I kind of want to guide the people that are listening to kind of have something lined up. I kind of want them to be prepared, so when they make the call with you, whatever questions you're going to ask, they're going to have him answer. So whatever they don't have answer, you can come and facilitate.
Okay. I understand the question, and I will give you the list. But let me say,
just the most important ones.
The most important thing they can do is to take take the action to call the realtor. And I'll tell you why. Okay. Because there are people that have no idea what the first step is, and there are people who are very knowledgeable as to what it takes. There are people who have already purchased their home and they want to sell or lease their current home, and then they want to purchase a bigger home or a smaller home, or they might be going through a changing life, so there are different people in that they're on different sides of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
But the most basic information that you were asking for would be income taxes.
Okay.
2 years of income taxes, bank statements, the 3 most recent bank statements for each account. And a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm just going to give them the pages that have information. They want all the pages, even if they're blank pages, but if it has a number, from 1 through 7, they want 7 pages, even if there's no important information.
So 2 years of employment, bank statements, what else?
Pay stubs.
Pay stubs. Okay, of course, the current job.
But some people don't get pay stubs.
Yeah,
because they have they're their own company.
And I'm about to ask about that later. I'm about to ask about that because it's very important for people to know that whenever they want to get a house, the realtor can only do so much, right? But let's be honest, if they're prepared, if they have their strategy, this is why we're here, right? To help these guys out, right? So whenever they call you, you can only you're gonna do everything in your power to make sure they qualify.
Well, what I'm gonna do,
you're not gonna make the whole magic, they have to be like.
Here's what happens. Okay, so they call me and they say, well, they want to purchase a home. Then one of the first things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send them a list through email.
Okay.
That will have the most basic information that most lenders will need. 2 years of income taxes.
Okay.
3 most recent bank statements for each account. Pay stubs.
Okay.
Or and here's the thing: the income taxes, they have to have W-2 or 1099. Okay. If it's W-2, it's easier to calculate the income. If it's 1099, you have to have 2 years reported of income taxes as a 1099. Type of.
Employee.
It's not an employee; it would be like a contractor.
Contractor. So, okay.
Yeah. So those are basics, because if you were a W-2 employee working for a company and you said, well, now I want to start driving my own truck and I'll be my own boss, and you only have 1 year or less, you're not going to qualify. You need 2 years reported income. Okay. Now, there are people who may be going to college, and they say, well, now I'm going to go into my career, and they start with a W-2. The college time counts as if they were working. So as soon as they start generating the pay stubs, they qualify, because
they don't have to be working a certain amount of time.
No, because the college time counts as if they were working already in their career. They were working towards their career, and then they just landed a job. As soon as they graduated, it has to be in their field. And then let's say somebody says, well, I was studying to be a nurse, and they go and start working as a nurse. As soon as they start generating the pay stubs, then they can qualify.
Okay, I think that's pretty good, because a lot of people, I think they struggle in that. Why? Because they trying to get better opportunities. And if, of course, they didn't do as good as they did in this field or in the other field compared to the field they are now, of course, we can look at it from the perspective like, hey, I'm doing better in life. How come that doesn't count? And why it doesn't count, Alex?
If you're doing better in life and it doesn't count.
For example, let's say, you graduated as a nurse. And then you decided to do something else.
Oh, okay. So let's say that you want to be a baker. It's like, well, the lender says, we don't know if you're going to cut it as a baker. We need you to prove that you've been in that job long enough for us to know that you are going to be able to wake up early in the morning and
Okay.
handle the pressure. Otherwise, we're taking a risk on you, and we might lose money. So that's the reason why.
What about when you have the education and you start working this on the same field? Yes, okay, so work history is accounted for with the education. But what about there's no income requirements, like income tax requirement that gets kind of like
No, 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 no. The everything fits. The income, the debt, all of that has to be checked in, just like anybody else. In other words, let's say the example of somebody who just graduated, and then they went into the field of nursing.
mm-hmm.
Now, if that person said, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and buy a expensive car, and I'm going to, buy a lot of furniture,"
Or you
or
have student loans, or they don't count it
well,
against you.
the student loans, if they've started already, where they have to pay towards them, is going to be a monthly payment. That's going to account against the.
Debt to ratio.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that it has to make sense for the lender. They're still going to have to go through the qualifying guidelines like anybody else.
So you're telling me that when it comes to the debt to ratio, there is no healthy debt. There's no healthy debt in this case, right? Like, because sometimes when we consider getting a house a healthy debt, right? Or
Well, basically, they're going to expect a certain percentage
okay.
that can be going towards the house. And also, what's going to help is your credit score. The higher the credit score, the more comfortable they may feel that you may be able to pay. So they might give you a little bit more, wiggle room to qualify you for a little.
Alex, come on, man. You know that wiggle room is not enough. Everything has to be in line. It sounds like you gotta have this. You gotta have that because you have good credit, but you don't have this.
I'll give you an example. So conservatively, they
Okay.
might say, you know what, 41%. Within 41%, you have to have the payment of the home that you're going to get into, plus all your debt. Okay. But maybe you're not at 41%. What if you're at 48%? Well, if your credit score is high enough, they may push it all the way to up to 55%. So in that sense, they might make it work. But each case is different.
Yeah.
Conservatively, they would love to see 41%, with all the debts included.
Yeah, because I mean, so the education or income for 2 years in the same field. Now, like, I want to stick to the job part. Like, what are some? I want to ask the question, but I understand you're always gonna be optimistic about every question, every scenario. But can we tell like the audience like what kind of jobs do you recommend them to have versus some jobs that you don't recommend them to have to qualify? Because some jobs will, for example, si yo soy un mesero, if I'm like like a boss boy at Chili's, I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, or maybe I'm a waiter somewhere, right? Do they are those jobs are something that are good to have to qualify for a home? And it's not trying to disqualify people. It's just the fact that there are some realities we really need to kind of like face, because some of us don't know what kind of jobs are going to be used against us or not when it comes to applying for a loan.
Well, the thing is, so something that may happen is that, for example, if you're a waiter and you're not reporting your tips, then that's where you're hurting yourself, because at the end of the day, they want to see how much income you make. And there may be contractors out there that, they make X amount of money. And if they don't report it all, or if they say, oh, I have all these expenses, and they're not real, the income minus expenses leaves the profit. The lender is going to look at the profit, not at how much income you made. You might have made $200,000 in 1 year, and then you reported $10,000 profit. If that's the case, $10,000 is not going to qualify you for a home. They're not going to go for the $200,000 that you made because you started deducting everything.
What if
So in that sense,
what if a waiter or a waitress have been working on the same field for 4 years, and I
well,
don't know how to ask the question in a way where like it sounds good.
well,
Because
the thing is this. Okay,
uh-huh.
so I guess, like, I don't know. Do you know the formula for success?
Uh,
If something doesn't work, try something else.
okay.
And what if that doesn't work? Try something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't work, try something else. In other words, when do you stop? Until you actually succeed and you reach the goal. So what happens is that you're talking about a waiter. If it's one person, that one person may not qualify. But what if that person says, okay, now I'm going to be with a partner? They don't even have to be partners. They can be two friends that
Oh
can
wow. Okay.
yeah, they don't have to be married. It could be just two friends from infancy that say, hey, let's get a home.
Yeah.
And they combine their income, they combine their um, credit. They find a solution
Okay.
somehow to get a home. And that one home, that's how you start. That's going to help get another home in the future. Not necessarily in 2 years, it might take longer, but that's how a lot of people got started.
Okay, so there's a solution. Yeah.
I mean, that's just one way to try to find a way into how can we acquire a home. I guess what people would need to think about is, okay, I want a home, I want to get one. Let me get educated as to what I need to do. And what's the first thing I need to do? Call Alex Perez.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing.
You're giving people hope right now. I want you to know that you're giving people hope, because I'm asking the questions from a more like be prepared kind of scenario, right? From that perspective, I'm not looking at it from like a solving perspective, and you're giving a solution, which is good, because there's gonna be a lot of people watching this. They're gonna be like, you know what? There is hope for me. Let me call him. Let me tell him my situation. And let me see if I can find somebody that can help me in this situation. And that's one scenario.
And that's what it's about. Let me give you an example. So a long time ago, many years ago, there was this young man who said, hey, Don Alex, I'm going to buy a home and I want to buy it with you. And once I'm ready, I'm going to give you a call. And I was very happy. And I said, okay, it took him.
Oh my God.
It took him 1 year to call me back. And when we processed him through the lender, he qualified in every way except one. He did not have rental income.
Huh?
He lived with his parents and he did not pay them any rental income. And he had no evidence to show that he paid them every month because he didn't. So the lender told him, okay, you need to open up a checking account. You need to start paying rent to your parents. And you need to get us 12 canceled checks.
Well,
and
I'm confused.
12 canceled checks to show that you have the habit of paying on time every month. That's what the lender wanted to see.
So the lender wanted to see him spend money?
No. Most people, they rent an apartment and the apartment has their rental history. Most people, if they don't live in an apartment, maybe they pay a mortgage, and that shows if they they have a good rental history, because if they don't, they're going to report it to the credit bureau.
Okay.
And then they're going to find out that they're late on their payments.
Okay.
If they're paying their dad or not paying their dad, the dad is going to say, yes. Parents may say, yeah, they pay on time.
Trail.
But the paper trail from the bank is going to show that they actually do pay on time. Okay, but check this out. He said, do you mean to tell me that if I would have come to you a year ago when we first spoke, I would qualify by now if I had all those checks? Because it took him a year. And I said, yes.
Okay.
So at that point in time, I said, you know what? It's not a waste of time to process people now. The purpose of processing them is not necessarily for them to purchase a home next month. The purpose of processing them is to figure out where they are in the process, to help them put things in perspective, so they have a way to say, okay, this is what I need to do to purchase in the future, or try to figure out a way so they can purchase in the future.
That's a good way to see it, because damn, it's just like, this is amazing how like you're showing us, when you're in this situation, call me. When you're in this situation, call me. When you think about a house, call me. But everything makes sense. It's because you need to see where they're at in this journey to see what they need to prepare for it.
Correct.
And that's a very smart way to see it. I'm glad that you put it that way, because of course you're a realtor. I'm a customer. I only work with you as a customer.
Actually, you were my client.
Client, right? And you can probably have better storytelling about clients' experiences, right? About, oh man, I thought this client wasn't gonna qualify, and next thing you know, he did. Or I thought this client was gonna happen and he didn't, right? So I'm pretty sure you have a bunch of stories, right? And it's amazing how the market can help you or make it hard for you depending on where you're at. The programs are really helpful when a client is working with you and you already guided them and they're with you and you guys are so close to close on this home. What are some things you advise people not to do before closing?
Oh, good question. Yes, a lot. It's been known that some people have gone to the furniture store and they feel that, okay, since they're approved and they have told that they are going to go to closing, they have gone to a furniture store and they have purchased furniture or any type of debt, whether you get a car, anything that will be reported to the credit bureau, that would affect the qualification, because the lender, they can pull your credit report the day of closing, and then they find out that you apply for credit, then at that point in time they're going to stop the process. And if they figure out that you did actually get credit, if you got that furniture, if you got that vehicle, you may no longer qualify for that payment.
Okay. So I guess don't buy anything, don't make any financial moves until you pretty much close the house, right? That's what you recommend.
Once you start the process of getting qualified, it's not good to go out and get inquiries against you, because for each inquiry you're supposed to write a letter of explanation why they checked your credit. So you just are making the process longer, even if you don't get any credit.
What's the term that you use right now?
The inquiry?
Okay, so when you get inquiries, what hurts you more, a bunch of inquiries or having a low credit score?
Well, I mean, having a whole bunch of inquiries will probably trigger a lower
But
credit
what if it
score.
doesn't and you still have a good credit score?
I mean, if your credit score is really high, and you get inquiries and let's say that it gets it lower, but you're still up there, then you should still qualify.
I remember that when you helped me buy the first house, I know I was married at the time, and my wife's income, my wife's credit, my wife's debt could help me or be used against me. And I think we got to the point where we were like, you know what, Jeffrey, do it by yourself. Do it by yourself, because if you use her, it might not work. So I ran into that situation twice with you, and that was because if it wasn't one thing, it was another. And I was like, damn. So I guess I'm on my own financially to qualify for this house, and it sucks. It does, because I can't. My ex-wife's income could have helped me get a better house, a bigger house, etc. Right? But in that case, I couldn't afford more than a certain amount because the debt. I had debt. I didn't have the perfect score. I didn't have the perfect debt. I didn't have the perfect anything, and I had to make the best of it with what I was making.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Each case is different,
yeah,
and that's why it's important to process each file and approve them. Some people talk about pre-qualification, but pre-approval is better because that means that they go more into
yeah,
depth to figure out whether the person is going to qualify or not. Sometimes people go into the bank and they say, "Oh, you want to buy a house?" Yeah, and they might go as far as maybe checking the credit score, and they say, "Yeah, go buy a house," and they don't collect any paperwork, And then when you take your income taxes, pay stubs, bank statements, they say, "Oh, you don't qualify," And I learned this a long time ago. Well, why don't you just take a look at that ahead of time? Well, a lot of times it's because it's time consuming for them, But I try to work with people who will take the time to take a look at the documents, so that way they can let my clients know it's going to work or it's not going to work. And I rather have them know that it's not going to work now instead of later after we have found a home, and then they tell them, "Sorry, you don't qualify." So if it's not going to work, on top of that, I would have the lender guide him as to what would you need to do in order for it to work in the future.
yeah.
So yeah, that's each case is different. We gotta take it to, like in your case, you mentioned
I
that the
think you need to do a
income.
podcast about this because I can't ask you a million questions today.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to ask you a million things, and I can't because they will never finish.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so you're right. Every case is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every client is different. Every client will qualify for a certain program depending on where they're at, what their situation is. Are they gonna do it together? Are they gonna do it alone? Are they married? They're not married.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And that's why it was important
oof.
to process. You just mentioned that. That we mentioned, since you mentioned it, I'm mentioning it, that that the ex-wife's income was going to hurt instead of help. That's not the case in every case,
Yeah,
for everybody. But in that particular case, if that's what we said, that's what it was. And that's why we had to figure out which route to go. And if you still got a house, that means we still made it work. But we have to know the guidelines. We have to know how they play the game in order for you to be able to qualify. Because if you're thinking, "Oh, well, you know what, I think it's okay for me to purchase a vehicle," but that's just going to add to your debt ratio.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. You have to basically call Alex Perez. I'm going to here's the thing.
Call Alex Perez right now.
Yes, you
281
281 281. No.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You have the option as a buyer to choose your own lender.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna push a lender on you, but once you say, "Hey, Alex, this is who I want to go with," then we will work with that lender. I'll work with any lender. If they're offering programs, I'll work with those programs, and I'll do my best to make it work with what the buyer chose, at the time. Most people, or a lot of people, they don't know who to go with, but if they say, for example, "I do want to qualify for a first-time homebuyer program," then I may say, "You know what, there's this lender who's very familiar with different kinds of first-time homebuyer programs," or maybe there's this special type of program that only one lender offers. In other words, it may be that a lender has set aside a certain amount of money, and they say, "We're going to give away $5,000 to help people, no strings attached." And one time I asked, "Why are they doing that?" And the lender told me, "It's just that they did a deceptive practice, they got in trouble, and now they have to give back to the community, and this is the way they're paying back to the community by helping people get home ownership. So I can't remember if it was $5,000 or $10,000 they were helping, but once the money runs out, that's it. So it's something that we can't say, oh, this is what's available out there, because by the time they hear the podcast, it may not be available anymore.
How has politics have played in the housing market, in the way it moves, in the way it goes up, in the way it comes down, in the way it helps or is used against people that are trying to buy homes?
Mm-hmm. Well, the government has the power to lower the interest rate, even if it's artificially. Not too long ago, the rate was 3% or less, and that did not happen naturally, and it was kept like that. So the government said, this is what we're going to do to stimulate the economy.
Okay.
And so the government also, like the City of Houston program, it's a government program. They give incentives for those who qualify. They help them with closing costs. And if they give so much money that is more than the closing cost, whatever surplus there is can go even towards the principal. So to lower the amount of money, the amount of debt from the start. And so it's a matter of if you're looking for the right time, it's
never.
It's always right now.
Okay.
For the most part, unless you hear the government say, "Hey, next month we're lowering the rate."
But who's really paying attention to everything the government is saying? Most people are busy working all the time, right?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Unless you hear something like that, but otherwise, like you might ask, when is the perfect time to purchase?
That's a good question.
After many years of asking myself that question, I said, it's right now if you are ready and able. Why? Because, as you know, Jeffrey, life happens.
Yeah.
And things change. So there may be the best opportunity in front of you, but if you're not prepared, if you haven't been pre-qualified or pre-approved, you're not going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. Yeah. So the best thing to do is get pre-approved, and then when the opportunity comes, you're ready to go for that opportunity. Why? Because if you start thinking, okay, ideally would be when the interest rate is low and the prices are down. They haven't gone up yet. And let's say we were there at one point when the rate went down, remember, for 3%. But what happened, there were so many people that were applying for loans, getting approved. So if I placed a property on the market one day, within 2 days, it would not be surprising to see 50 to 65 offers on that one home. What happened? It turns out that people started offering 10, 20, 30,000 above the asking price.
Jesus Christ. When was this? Like in 21, right? 2021?
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah.
And
I got it for 225.
But imagine if you don't have that much more money to give, if you barely have enough to get into the home, and you do qualify for the loan, you qualify for the house, but you have so much competition, and each home you apply for, somebody else beats you.
I understand
to it.
Yeah.
Then is that really the best time to purchase? At the end, you might feel frustrated that you didn't get to purchase the home because everybody else got it before you did. So
I know people that said they wanted to wait for the right time. When the interest rates drops, when the market crashes, but it hasn't happened.
Check this out. When the interest rate was low and people were offering 10, 20, 30,000 above, they were driving the price up of the homes very quickly. Month after month, prices of the homes were going higher and higher and higher. So people who could not purchase, they were missing the opportunity to buy low. Now people are saying, oh, prices have gone up a lot, and compared to the way they were, yes, they have. But let's say that they say, well, there's a home that I like, $375,000, but I'm going to wait till it goes down to 325.
Okay.
What if it never happens? When are you going to make the decision to go forward and say, I'm going to purchase now? By the time you probably say, okay, I'm convinced it's not going to go down, so now I'm going to purchase it. By that time, it may be 425,000, higher than what you could have purchased for when you had the opportunity. So the other way to think about it is, what do you think is going to happen to the prices in 20, 30 years from now?
They're probably gonna drop. I'm just kidding. They're gonna keep going up. Okay,
yeah.
Because that's history.
Yeah, the history has shown us time and time again. It's like I tell people, imagine if your grandpa or your great grandpa purchased a home. They probably purchased it for $3,000 new. Prices for the material back then was less expensive, but back then $3,000 probably felt like 250, 350 now. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. It was harder to earn money back then.
Okay.
So they still felt the pressure we feel now. So right now, somebody might say,
the difference, Alex, is what I'm being told is that now, when all this stimulus was given to the, to the people, it inflated everything. So in other words, the dollar lost value.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm saying. It's like, and I hear that all the trillions of dollars that they were given, it was more money than it has ever been given.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to impact something, Alex. We can't compare like back in the days, because maybe our great grandparents or grandparents probably didn't face this kind of inflation that our generation is facing now.
Mm-hmm. Well, what the point I wanted to get to is that even though the price right now may seem high, 20 or 30 years from now is going to seem like, oh man, that was not expensive at all. But that's because in the future, they're going to be earning more money, inflation.
They're supposed to be, but I feel like it's hard to keep up with the inflation. Mm-hmm. It's like, for example,
well, right now,
every time I feel like I'm making it, I'm barely making it.
Mm-hmm.
Or when I think I'm about to make it, something happens where like I can barely afford something.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And that's another reason why it's important that when I went back to saying when is the best time to purchase, right now if you are able. Why? Because here's what happens. If you're able to purchase, you purchase your home. Once you're in your home, as long as you don't sell when the prices drop, stay with it. It's going to come back up, and highly likely it's going to keep going up, with the years. But you're already in your home, and your home is building equity for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if life changes and you're able to purchase now, in the future, you might not be. And if you don't purchase when you could, later on, you might miss the opportunity to. So that's a point that I want to make. There been times then that, maybe you have a life change, a new family member comes into the family, or there's a death.
I'm gonna talk about that later, about the family, the change in the family, and that has to do with like relationships and things like that, and working together as a team when it comes to buying a house. But before I leave the politics kind of side of the market, is like, have you ever noticed when Democrats take over versus when Republicans take over? Have you seen any changes as a realtor in the market?
As far as politics, I try to not get too much into it, to be honest with you.
But this is a realtor
but
observation in the market.
mm-hmm.
This has to do nothing with preferences, right? This has to do with how it impacts the market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can tell me that from your experience as
mm-hmm.
a realtor.
Well, you know, it's like, again, it goes back to when, okay, let's say Democrats, you know, are in, they seem to be with the mentality of let's give more,
Okay.
you know, so then it impacts in more programs that can help,
Okay.
you know, as opposed to not help, you know, that programs may go away.
So you do notice
Mhm.
that impact in the housing market, you as a realtor, when you're helping people buy a home. You can tell.
There is that impact. As a realtor, I really try to concentrate more on what's left out there that I can still help my clients with.
Right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It was just my curiosity, you know. If you know, I
Mm-hmm.
had to ask you that from a your personal view as a realtor, if you notice the impact
Mm-hmm.
on your field,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how politics play out in our society.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tell me that Democrats help more with programs when it comes to buying a house, okay, you're telling me that because you've seen it.
But at the end of the day, you know, we have so many other factors as far as having to qualify. You know, so again, if the person, one, they have to take action to try to get approved.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of programs if they don't even apply.
Right.
Okay. So the I think that the key is in taking action and applying, you know, to see where they stand and what they have to work with, because otherwise it doesn't matter how much help is out there, it's not going to happen.
What happens when Republicans take over the House?
I mean, you know, each I would think that each time they have the majority, I mean, it's not going to be the same each and every time, but yeah, there is the feeling that programs are going to go away. You know, programs that help people make it easier to get into the home. But I would like to think more of the tenacity of each family, each person to say, I want a home. And I think that that's stronger than anything, because I don't want them to think that, oh, now, you know, this is what the politics are doing, and therefore I can't even do it without trying, you know. So I think that each person has to try.
Yeah.
You know, and then say, okay, I want to become a homeowner. And what if that doesn't work? Let's try something else, you know, go back to that formula.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you could easily discourage somebody from even trying.
Yeah. Well, we're not trying to discourage. It's more like an observation. You know, like I pretty much asked the question from an observation kind of point of view. Just because, you know, I'm just curious to know how realtor sees the market, you know, depending on how politics are playing. And of course, I wish I knew, so I didn't have to ask the question.
The way I see it is like this. I try to like not focus too much on it. I try to go by what's happening at the time. It's kind of like, you know, when discussing how much is the house worth, you know, we have to look at what's going on at the time. You know, what are the comparables at this time, you know, and get a snapshot, you know. But the thing is, what I try to do is figure out, okay, this family right now, do they have the basic information, you know, and if they don't meet all the guidelines, is there a way that maybe they can somehow find a way to still qualify? Because sometimes we just have to think outside the box, and each case is different. And I mean, the podcast would last like
Yeah.
many hours. So, but the thing is that by giving it to the professionals, then there's a higher chance that maybe we can figure something out. And if there's nothing else to figure out, then at least and a lot of times it may be that you might have to get together with somebody else to qualify. Like I said, it could be two friends that can qualify. But sometimes people, they say, well, this is how I want to do it. And if they want to do it their way, not the way that the lender says these are the guidelines, then it may not work.
Do realtors get like a heads up on what changes might come?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay.
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we hear and we have the industry giving us guidance as to what's happening with the market, the sales for new homes, used homes, the inventory, is there a shortage or not, but at the end of the day, if somebody really wants to purchase a home, I have to stress into call Alex Perez.
Call him.
281-835-HOME, HOME.
Oh, there you
281-835-4663.
By the way, I will put your information on the description below the video so people can reach out to you, okay? Just give me all the information you would like to share with the audience so they can reach out to you and you guys can start working together. You working in the Houston area?
The Houston and surrounding area,
okay.
Because Houston has suburbs. Now there's so much to choose from. Pearland, Missouri City, Stafford, Katy,
Cypress. Oh my God! It's just growing so much. Oh my God! That 99 is bringing a lot of building. Like here on this area here. Wow, it just keeps growing. I feel like this is gonna be like the new Pearland.
I would like to stress that it's important to call me before you go out to see the builder, because once you go to the builder, sometimes the builder says, okay, it's like that's not your client, and if I'm part of the process from the beginning, I will be able there to guide you, and what happens as well is that when you're dealing with without me, just with the builder, the sales counselor represents the builder, not you as the buyer. I'm going to represent the buyer, okay? And I may be available off, business hours. If there's been times when people have called me and they could not even sleep because something came up in their head and they had this question and the office was closed, and I was the only one that could answer the question. And
I believe that too. I do believe it because, whenever I was buying houses, you were involved in all my houses, right? Yeah, because I remember whenever I was buying my first house, you were involved. The second house, you were involved. And the second house and the third house, that's where like construction companies were involved, okay? And I'm like, man, why did these guys let me, like on the second house, I remember that they told me, you got to work with these guys. I worked with those guys. I don't know why was going on with them, but I felt because they were so big, they were such a big company that they weren't prioritizing my case. So they were like, whatever about my housing situation. I had a pregnant ex-wife. I mean, I had a lot of things that were like against me, and that was also time. So I'm like, damn, man. I'll be like, I was telling them, look, I have a realtor that I would like to bring into the picture. I don't know why they had to think about it so much. Look, I don't want to lose my house. Can I bring him in? And they were like, okay. I don't know. I forgot how everything ended when it came to your commission. But once I brought you in, the problem was resolved. We found a cash buyer. They bought the house.
Sold it in 10 days.
Sold it in 10 days. And we were able to buy and close on the same day on both houses. And that was the only way I could have got that house, because we were like a day or two away from losing it.
Correct.
So that's why whenever you say, call Alex, you never know. I'd rather you have a cushion of time to work with Alex than do it the way I did. Because it's pretty stressful, especially when you have a newborn and then you're trying to have the wife sign papers and etc. It's tough. It is tough. And every situation was different. The first house was different. The second house, the third house was different. And I'm not gonna go into the stories because we'll never end. But one of the questions that I kind of want to ask you about the family aspect of housing. Let's say they're happily married. When you meet them, you help her buy the house. They bought the house. A couple of years later, things didn't work out. Something happened. Do you see this very often in your line of work, where happy couples, they're happy when they buy, next thing you know, they're getting divorced, something happened? Do you see this very often in your field?
I wouldn't say very often, but I have seen it.
But it's common.
It is not, something that it is something that I'm not surprised to see.
Okay, so it's common then.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to say it, Alex. I know.
They're different. They're different scenarios, and sometimes they say, well, we want to sell the house, and then they say, well, you know what, we're gonna wait, a while longer. So there's all kinds of situations. Some of them say, okay, we're putting it on the market, we're separating. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question that, of course, we probably don't want to get into it, but you as a realtor, when you have clients in this situation, oh my God, I'm just gonna ask it. How do you help them without thinking about what does a realtor get from it? I guess that's my question. Like, how can they save the most money in a situation like this?
How can they what?
Save money.
Save money.
Like for example, they came to an agreement, and there was maybe not a realtor involved in the separation process where they need to get rid of the house.
So they're homeowners. They came to an agreement, but they need to.
Somebody keeps the house, I guess, maybe in order for them to save money. Because how much money do they lose if they sell the house?
Okay, so all I can do as a realtor is put things in perspective. If you want to sell the house, this is how the numbers look.
Okay.
And then the rest is up to them to, take the other side of their options, and put it against what I showed them, put everything on the table. I don't know the situation on the other side. They do. So they have to discuss it among themselves and make a decision, and then tell me, we've decided to sell, or you know what, we've decided to keep the house, or maybe one is going to keep it or not. All I can do is put in perspective the real estate side. I'm still thinking about I'm helping them.
Yeah.
And at the end, they may decide to sell, they may decide not to sell. I'm investing my time to give them the information they need to make the best decision at the time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to ask the question, Alex, because I know you're a realtor and that's how you pay your bills, okay? But the thing is, I think whenever couples have other alternatives and they want to save money, I'm pretty sure they can also use those routes. Of course, when you sell a house, you lose about 25% of the value, because they have to go into expenses, they have to go into realtors, they have to go into all these fees, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked the question, and I was hoping for you to elaborate on that a little bit more. So for example, let's say if they were getting divorced, they bought the house at $300,000, now it costs $400,000. Out of those $100,000 in the, I guess, what's it called, what's the term here? When it has value of 100,000,
Right.
how much are they gonna lose from those
So
100,000?
here's the thing,
Uh-huh.
and this is what I've learned. It's not just about the numbers. There are other things, there are other points of view that need to be taken into consideration, because I can easily, as a math person, tell you, hey, this is the best route, this is the best we can do, and even in our lives, especially as men, we say, hey, this is the most economic way, right? But it turns out that that may not be the only way or the best way, because if we're going to be thinking about like the family happiness, for example, we say, okay, we have to also take into consideration this other point of view. So let me put it this way. Let's say that they're separating. Okay, yeah, the house is worth more, but the person who's going to keep the home is not going to be able to keep it up. It's not going to be able to keep up the payment.
That's a good way to see it.
They're going to lose the house in a few months, or
A
6
couple
months
of
from
years. Uh-huh.
yeah. So that's not the best route to go financially in the long run. So we have to try to kind of put that in perspective as well, as a possibility. The final decision is the clients.
Yeah.
All we can do is say, hey, here are scenarios, here are things that can happen. Do you think you can overcome the situation? It's up to you. I mean, I'm not forcing them to sign, but at
Yeah.
least they're better informed. That so it's not about, it's like, if they don't sign the listing and I don't sell the house, I'm not going to make money. It's more about putting things in perspective. Me as a realtor, I try to put my clients' interest first before mine. Okay, so I can tell you that there was one time when I got some news about some type of repair, and I said to myself, this is going to make the deal fall through. And the commission, as you said, is my bread and butter, right? So I needed the commission, but I had to. I'm bound by ethics,
Yeah.
but also morally, and I decided, okay, even if I lose my commission, I'm going to let them know this is the situation. So I went ahead and I let them know this is the situation, and they said, okay. Like a matter of fact, like, we're still moving forward with the deal. And I was like, so relieved. And I said, I don't have this moral burden
Yeah.
on me. It's like, thank God, that one, I did the right thing. And from that point on, I said, I mean, I was already putting my clients first, but that just solidified it even more to say, I'm putting my clients' interest first before mine, and I have lost some commissions because of it. But at the end of the day, I sleep well at night.
You have your conscience clean about how you were able to come about the situation, and that's the dark topic I kind of want to discuss before we wrap it up, because I think a lot of people don't ask these uncomfortable questions to realtors, because most realtors are not gonna be honest about it, right? You seem like a very straight guy that likes to help people. Now, in every field, there's always a black sheep. There's always a dark side. When it comes to realtors, I know some people that have gotten bad deals. Not from Alex Perez, of course, because you're not that type of realtor. But there are some realtors out there that don't think like you, that they violate those ethics. And I would like you to discuss why it happens, and also I would like you to point out red flags, if you can, for people to kind of identify they're with a bad realtor or they're with a good realtor. And I know you're representing the whole realtor community, but I think it's also fair to say that as clients, they also have the right to be able to determine what is a good realtor and what isn't. It doesn't have to be unethical to the point where they're gonna get a broken house, but more like as help as well. Like if they're not gonna get the proper help, how can they identify those signs right away? Do you think that's a fair question to ask?
Well, as far as identifying right away,
Well, maybe not right away, but you know.
I guess, I mean, nowadays everything is documented, and sometimes I find out that realtors might not have filled out the paperwork, correctly, or left a lot of fields blank, and then they say, okay, you're bound by this, even though it's not filled out completely, or worse yet, the buyer signs and they never get a copy of the information that they signed, and I say, so sometimes people have reached out, and I say, well, what did you sign? And they, oh, we didn't get anything, so those could be some signs, or red flags, as far as, is the real estate agent trying to educate you? Are they guiding you in a way where they're not pushing, saying, hey, this is what you have to buy, this is what, they should give guidance, but allow the buyer to make decisions. Now, let's be realistic as well. There's cases where buyers are not able to make a decision as well, in the sense that they may see homes and they like every home, and then, okay, so which one are you going to make an offer on? Well, none of them. They like all of them, or they may not like any. So if we're talking about the realtor, I don't know if see, the thing, what's hard about it is we need to look at the situation itself, because again, some agents may start behaving a certain way due to what the situation is.
Well, I know, Alex, maybe as a rookie agent, you're gonna make mistakes. I get that. Sometimes mistakes happen, human errors happen, but this is not a human error I'm discussing. This is like a neglect to a certain degree kind of perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? Like, have you? Okay, this.
Yeah,
is
there. I mean, if so, okay, so here's a big red flag.
Okay, there we go.
If somebody says, for example, as an agent, okay, give me $3,000, which I've heard has happened before,
and we'll get to that later.
And then for one thing, the realtor is supposed to be paid by the broker, so they're not supposed to get money directly.
Okay.
So if they say, write me a check for $3,000, that would be a big red flag.
Who are the biggest victims? What groups? What social groups are the most targeted ones when it comes to this kind of like bad ethics? Is it the immigrant community? Is it the elderly? Is it certain people that they're not as much as educated? I mean,
well, pretty much anybody could fall victim who's exposed to that type of agent, and I mean, you touched on some groups that they have been affected, but at the end of the day, I think it's a numbers game, and they may try anybody who's gonna fall to that, and at the end of the day, maybe any group that falls into what they're doing. Like right now, I mean, you hear about scams, all over the place, and different kinds.
What's another red flag? I'll get to that question later. But what's another red flag?
if the realtor, if it's not a realtor, uh, by being a realtor, we have to follow ethics, a code of ethics. So make sure that they do belong to the association of realtors.
How do we know though? How do I know as a person? Like I trust you, Alex, that you
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
associated with somebody.
So in order for me to use the MLS system from har.com,
Mm-hmm.
so go to har.com. My information is there.
Okay.
If you find a realtor and they're not part of HAR, maybe they are a real estate agent in the sense that they are licensed, but they're not a realtor. And what I'm saying is that as realtors, we have to abide by a code of ethics.
You should do a podcast, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
You should do like a mini series of what it takes to be a realtor. What's a good realtor? What's a bad realtor? You want to help realtors start their own business. I think people will appreciate your
Mm-hmm.
education, your knowledge, your
Mm-hmm.
wisdom. Because I'm sure, like, if you sat down and you organize your ideas and how to execute it, you do great. Because I mean, you've been doing this for 35
Mm-hmm.
years. It's amazing of everything you know. Maybe I think when you hang out, they hang the towel of a realtor. Maybe you'll do it, huh? I mean, you can do it now.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do realtor, you know. And I think people will appreciate it, your guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then you're gonna be so. What's the point of being a realtor if I'm gonna tell them everything, right? The thing is, like, when they have you, I think they know they're gonna be protected to a certain degree, that you're gonna look out for their best interest. I think that's what it is, and you need a license, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as much as you do your podcast and you explain all these, all this information, you'll never be the same as knowing it as having you next to them. Because first you're licensed, second you're gonna see things that they're not gonna see. You can explain one thing in one episode, one thing in another episode, and one thing in another episode. But at the end of the day, it's like when you are there with them, present in the home they want to buy, you're gonna see the entire thing, the entire picture. So I think you'll do well if you do it. You have so much. I wish I could keep asking, but
Thank you, Jeffrey.
yeah,
But there's one more thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
And that's I'm also going into the field of selling businesses.
So businesses like buildings or like or the brand.
Basically, like if there were to be
Well, I guess the franchise per se. That's the word.
a
Maybe.
franchise, yeah,
Okay.
or a restaurant, so the building, the owner may not own the building, but they own the business inside the building. So right now, for example, we have a shop that makes cabinets, and it has machines that are automated. They're programmed with computer programs,
Okay.
and basically the computers do everything as far as cutting and making the holes where they need to go. And they do have people that transfer the material from one machine to another, but each of the machines has its own function, that at the end of the day, they put together the cabinet, and they're very high quality. And the thing is that they make them faster. As if you had like a carpenter making them one by one, it would take them way longer
Yeah,
to
of course.
make those. And so I was asking the owner, hey, how long do you think it would take you to make 10 kitchens if you were working 9 to 5 shifts? And he said it would take 2 weeks. And then I said, what if you had 24 hours, since they're machines,
Yeah.
the machines can work nonstop, and you put different people at different shifts? He said it would take about 1 week. So, that just gives you a perspective. They're asking $750,000 for the business and $750,000 for the building. I'm not allowed to
Jesus.
disclose
Yeah.
where, but if you contact me, then we can.
Alex Perez.
Alex Perez, 281-835 home, HRME. 281-835-4663.
Okay, okay. And I'll put all your information on the description below. Like everything you want to share, especially the business. I guess is this something new that you've been doing this for some time?
It's new.
Because yeah, how would you call this? Like
It's called business brokerage.
okay, business brokerage. Okay.
And this is separate from real estate. It's not considered real estate. In other words, it doesn't fall under my real estate license.
Okay.
So
Just two different identities.
It's basically a different department. It's not associated to the broker, my real estate broker.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody out there that has a business that they want to sell, or if they want to purchase, they can give me a call as well.
Okay, Alex. Okay. And wow. So 2 weeks with human hands and then 1 week with automated systems?
Well, no, the machines are automated.
Yeah.
So you need the machines in both cases. But it would take 2 weeks if they were to be working a regular 9 to 5 shift.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the 24 hours.
And about 1 week, if you have, let's say, 2 crews, one in the morning, one at night,
12-hour shifts?
Yeah. Or 3 shifts, or 3 crews, basically have the machines running 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's the hypothetical scenario I asked. What if the machines were running 24 hours and you put the necessary people working to, get the job done?
Yeah.
And what that means is that, if you get to reach out to builders or apartment complexes that are being built, even apartment complexes that need to be renovated. So basically, the sky is the limit as to the type of clientele you can get to do kitchens, even to individuals.
Is there corruption in real estate?
I think there's corruption in every industry.
Because I don't like HOA fees, Alex.
Huh?
I don't like HOA fees, especially when they're overpriced. I'm paying way over, I think, what it should be for a subdivision that's very small and we don't have a pool.
Yeah, I mean, there's even a funny commercial about HOAs, but it's something that they're here, and
Are they here to stay, or would they ever go away?
Well, I don't think I don't think anything is permanent necessarily, but right now they're very strong in to just voice and say, "Oh, I don't like this or that." It's not going to make a change, because it has become even stronger in the most recent years. So, yeah, it's something we have to deal with, and probably best thing to do would be to, get a little bit more involved as to who is running it, and maybe
I would ask you that question, but I'm afraid I'm not gonna get an answer.
What?
Who's running the HOA departments?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about like the individual who's running your HOA, for example. And then if for some reason they say, hey, this is what you need to do, and let's say you're out of town and you need a little bit more time, you can reach out to them and say, hey, can you give me a break and give me a little bit more time to get this done, and they might be able to work with you as long as there's communication.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what I found out is that they try to reach out and they try to communicate, but maybe the homeowner doesn't respond back. I had somebody that I sold a house to, and he said, Alex, they're charging me $900.
Yeah.
And it was for a violation. Okay, not the fee. It was a violation, and he did not know because he did not understand the letter that was being sent to him.
These are some nice pictures, Alex. I didn't know people were watching my house. Or I'll put it away.
No,
Yeah.
well, it turns out that once he saw the bill for $900, he said, Alex,
what is going on?
can you find out? I mean, you sold me my home, so can you find out for me what's going on?
Yeah.
It turns out that he was supposed to. They wanted him to cut some branches that were getting too low in front of his home.
Yeah.
And because he had not done it time after time after time, letter after letter, then they got to that point and that got his attention, and he said, okay, I'll do it immediately. And that was it, and they waived the fee.
The whole fee?
I believe so.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's very nice.
Well, it turns, again, it has to do with communication.
Yeah.
If they were to send the information to the attorney, and at that point the attorney needs to be paid, they cannot waive that, because it comes out of their pocket. So
Yeah.
If you let it go for too long and it gets to the point the attorney gets a hold of it, the attorney is going to charge for his time, and at that point you have to pay that. But at least the part for the HOA, sometimes they're able to negotiate with you their portion.
Okay, I think that's fair as long as they're understanding. But it's just ridiculous. They got me for some weeds that were just weeds. They weren't even that high, and they were just high enough to send me a letter, I guess. And we take care of our house here. We maintain it. They got me on the flags because they were like wore out. Like they were torn because in the wind, the sun. Wow. When the flags used to last longer in my house out there, now they don't last that long. Maybe because of the sun, the breeze, a corner house. I mean, the factors of weather. Yeah, but it's just crazy. And I.
But usually they send you a letter saying take care of this.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And what I'm saying is, let's say you're taking a vacation, or you are sick, and there's just no way because life happens, and you cannot do it in the timeline that they want you to, even though you have the intention. At that point, communicate with them. That's the best thing you can do. Find out who is the one in charge for your community, and then try to build a relationship with that person. So that way, hey, can you give me an extra month? And they say, sure. And then there you go.
You got to get along with your neighbors, huh?
You have to.
I have a neighbor around here that was, he asked me to vote for him because he wanted to be like the chair or something in the HOA because, they have their votes. They wanted to vote for the candidates to like.
Okay. Well, so he wants to be a volunteer to be part of the for the board of directors. That's a good source that you have that can tell you, hey, this is what's going on with the neighborhood, or this is what the financials are like, or whatever. They're very knowledgeable as far as what's going on, and so that's a good source.
Well, Alex, it was a pleasure to talk to you. I wish I could keep going. But I want to keep my audience kind of like, I want them to watch the whole video, so I don't want to give them like a 6-hour episode.
Yeah, okay.
Because I know you and I can go on and on and on, and I would love to keep going and give them more information. I hope it was a good experience. I hope you enjoyed the time here, talking to me and sharing your information. Not just for the audience to get a hold of you, but your knowledge as well, right? And it sounds like no matter what situation you're in, whether you're single, married, broke, not broke, jobless or not, or overworking, or in any situation you might find yourself, it seems like call Alex Perez.
That's right.
Okay, because like you said, if you don't think you're ready, don't you want to know what's gonna get you ready, right? And the only way is to call Alex Perez, right? Did that commercial help you? Remember we worked on a commercial on the house. Did that ever help to sell the house?
It did.
It did?
Yeah, I
Get
mean,
out of here.
No, I mean, it got exposure. I put it on Facebook, and it was getting views and
I was worried about losing that drone because it was so high. There were so many buildings, so many trees, but it came out good. Actually, I was impressed.
Yes,
Wow,
and
that was in 2022.
I'm still friends with the owner.
Wow.
Yeah, we still keep in touch.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's amazing because I was always wondering what happened with that commercial. We really worked hard on it, and you were there.
That was the Galleria area, one of the park.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I did it just to help, but I'm glad. I'm even more happier now that you said that it did help you, achieve that goal. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you, Jeffrey.
I'm thinking about doing like for the intro, because my intro is different. When you see this episode, it's gonna have a totally different intro compared to what I want to do. I kind of want to shoot like videos around the cities, well, the city of Houston, right? But of course, and also the surrounding areas of Houston. Certain areas where, like, when they see it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's Conroe. Oh, that's Woodlands. That's Clear Lake. That's Houston. That's Katy. Oh, that's Rosenberg." When people see those scenes in the intro, they're gonna know, okay, this is in the Houston area. This is pretty cool. Let's check it out, right? So I kind of want to do something like that for my intro, but it will require a lot of hard work, because just for those 3 seconds of video, it has to be perfectly directed, drone or no drone. You know.
Well, you're good at putting projects together and being very meticulous at making sure that everything is perfect. I remember working hard on that video, and you just kept saying I can perfect it even more. Yeah. Yeah, you did a great job.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. It was just an experiment. It worked out. This started as experiment. All this too. I started where I made the commercial. That's where everything started.
Okay.
In the first house, in that little room right there, in that little office. That's where everything started. I always had a passion for it, but life happens. You get married, you get out of the military, you grow, you have responsibilities, you have kids, and you gotta pay bills.
Correct.
This takes time to do. It takes a lot of time, and you gotta have a passion for it. And I think you have a lot of passion for what you do, and that's what makes you feel good about helping people. Yeah, sure, you need the money to pay bills, of course, but I think you enjoy what you do.
I do. I do, and like I said, I've from very early on, I decided to put my clients in front of me, my clients' interests in front of me, and that has basically helped put things in perspective, so I can sleep well at night, and it's worth it, and I try to be passionate about what I do, because at the end of the day, it's making a big difference in their life. They may not realize it sometimes at the moment. Sometimes it might take 2 years, and they say, "Oh, wow, it's like Alex did something really good for me." And then they have come to me and voiced it, and some people, they immediately realize, that it's a good thing that they've acquired. So it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
Good. Good. I think that as long as you're happy with what you're doing, the way you're doing it, and like you said, you have your conscience clean and you go to sleep safe at night. I think that in your heart you're doing everything you can to help people. And in this industry, your service is really important when it comes to getting a house. Oh my God, it's a headache, Alex. I know we had a 3-hour conversation here, but but it's a headache. It's not easy, as a seller and as a buyer. That's why I said, in any position you find yourself in, whether you're happily married, or you getting a divorce, or whether you're in a life where you need to make decisions with your house or getting a house, call Alex Perez.
That's
because
right.
every situation is different, like you said. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to thank you. I also want to thank you now that you're here because you helped me get the 3 houses that I got. I'm not going to go into the story because we'll never get out of here, but every situation was different.
Mm-hmm.
And every situation was challenging. And because of you, I'm able to do this where we are right now in this home. Maybe at the moment you feel like you weren't doing much, but you did a lot. You did a lot. You were there. You saw the fights. You saw the battles that I had to go through to get the homes. Every house was a battle. It wasn't easy, but you made it happen. And it's an honor to have had you by my side when things were tough. And the people you least expect are the ones that are there the most. That's the incredible part of every single journey.
Thank you very much for putting your trust in me, for calling me. I know that by the time you got this home, you were Alex. It's like I don't want to do anything without you, so let's go and get started from the beginning. You took the right steps. You called Alex Perez, and you waited for me to go to the builder. We went together. I was able to be there for you, especially when you needed me the most. And I was happy to be part of, your journey, the process. And, like you said, each situation is different, and we just got to do the best we can at the moment. And it turns out that recently my brother, he told me that he had referred me somebody, and that person I pre-qualified, and we spoke, and for some reason he went somewhere else.
Ooh-wee.
And he tried another realtor. I don't know if one or two other realtors. He didn't purchase, but recently he told my brother, you know what, I'm going back to your brother because he explains really well. I learned a lot from him. And this other realtor, I don't know exactly what happened, but it seemed like he wanted to gain, like going through some type of program that was going to help the buyer, but he's claiming that, the realtor wanted to keep it.
Oh, wow.
And I have no idea, that's I haven't figured out how that could happen, or how true it is, but the point is that the person is saying, in a few days I'm just gonna call your brother back.
There you
go. So based on the experience that he had when he met with me.
Yeah, I think I referred you a friend of mine. He was also in the military. And I think everything went well with them too. They were working with somebody, they weren't working out, and then you came in, and then there you go, right? You were effective. So I think when it comes to effectiveness, I know you'll come through. Now, if they want to make decisions on their own to save money, or because other people have told them no or whatever, that's gonna be on them, Alex. I know you're an effective person. You've been doing this for 35 years, and I have no doubt that after people hear this, they're gonna feel confident to reach out to you, no matter what circumstances in life they are. So thank you for coming, Alex. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to have you again. It might be another episode. It might not be a realtor. It might not be the market. It might be family. Might be finances. Might be manhood. You never know. So thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Jeffrey.